POV hot takes, man. Farmers in Arkansas are struggling, boy. They got it bad. Just like Usher. You got it bad. They struggling. They had a whole meeting with a bunch of farmers from all across state Arkansas, and they all were going through the same thing. They are struggling, y'all. They can't find nobody to work on these farms. The equipment cost is too high, and their beans and stuff like that can't compete on international markets. They're too expensive.
What happened to Charlie Kirk and what's happening to these Arkansas farmers is fruit of the same poisonous tree. See, they all think that bad things happening to other people is fine.
Seeing people literally get on here and be like, oh, we need to be nice to the farmers. Like, they're not stupid people. You know, that's just rude. No, they are stupid people. Because how the f*** are you going to know how a goddamn crop operates? And when the season is to crop it, and yet you fucking vote for everything against it. That's like literally a smoker saying, I want to get healthy, but they continue to smoke. Like, where you guys just don't understand. So yes, they deserve to be shitted on. They deserve to have the hate that they have right now because they're fucking stupid for voting for a moron. And the irony out of all of it is now they want socialism. Now they want a handout, but don't want to call it a handout. They just say it's help.
I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. When you try to sell a product, okay, U.S. soybeans leaving New Orleans without the tariff to China are cheaper than Brazilian soybeans at the current market. But when you put the tariff on top of them, Brazilian beans are cheaper.
So how can this be fixed?
All these tariffs are basically hurting these Arkansas farmers and farmers across the country because they can't sell their product because the tariffs have been retaliated against by China, especially soybean farmers.
And I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
Regarding the farmers in Arkansas, that's where I'm from. And this comment up here, if you click it and then go watch the video it's related to, you'll see I posted a video back in February of this year that basically predicted all of this was going to happen.
I just would like to see somebody help us get our markets back. We need our exports, and we just need to be paid for what we do. And that's not happening. And we're in real trouble.
China just signed a 20-year deal with Brazil to buy their soybeans from them. But I said this back in February that J.D. Vance funded Acre Trader, where they go in and buy up failing farms. And it's almost like a private equity firm coming in and investing in businesses, siphoning the money out and then selling them off. But we knew this was coming. It was in Project 2025. All this stuff that's happening. So I guess I am Nostradamus.
Wading through the sea of soybeans.
Rains have been, for the most part, pretty timely.
Arkansas farmer Becton Bell likes what he sees.
We've irrigated some, but every time we start irrigating, we'll get a rain that kind of stops us, or maybe right after we finish, we'll get a rain. So the irrigation hadn't been as critical this year as it typically is. So we've been pretty fortunate.
Timely rains and only short spurts of heat means growing conditions here in northeast Arkansas this year have been like a greenhouse.
Really almost scary to say this, but almost perfect as far as our timings.
While input costs remain high, one area he's saving on this year is irrigation. Typically, Bell says he has to irrigate corn up to 10 times. Soybeans can require 7 doses of irrigation a year. But even in his rice crop, thanks to this rain, that expense is down.
We've probably irrigated half of what we normally do. So, you know, it could be very easily be a several $100,000 savings to our bottom line.
In a year where every penny counts, that's a relief. But the reality for Bell and other farmers here is marketing this crop is coming at a loss.
We'll lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
This is Hallie Schaffner. I'm the 6th-generation farmer running for the U.S. Senate here in Arkansas to unseat Tom Cotton. Campaigning and farming aren't really all that different in terms of the number of hours that you work. But I like it. I get to talk to a lot of different people in different parts of the state. And I'm hearing a lot of the same thing. People are working hard and doing everything right and still falling behind. Not because they've failed, because the system is rigged against them. When they look to D.C. for answers, all they see is drama and gridlock. And I have heard some people say, Hallie, I like you. I like your message. But you're just going to go up to D.C. and do the exact same thing. Listen, I'm not running to pass some party's purity test. And I'm not running to join a team. In fact, I didn't know that I'd be running at all, but I've lived the consequences of bad politics. I had to close my farm this year. I know what it looks like when no one's fighting for us. I am from the dirt of Northeast Arkansas. I'm not going to forget where I came from or what I've lost. And I'm not going to D.C. to join a team and play a game of power grab. I'm going to go get things done for real Arkansans like me.
I tell you what, if the federal government caves in and gives these whining white farmers in Arkansas and all over the country welfare checks that they are crying and begging for because they are dealing with the consequences of their vote, then I hope that the National Black Farmers Association gets together and files a class action lawsuit against the government, just like those white farmers did in 2021 in order to block stimulus aid to black farmers. They sure did. They filed a lawsuit in 2021, white farmers, including those in Arkansas, to bar the federal government from giving a $4 billion stimulus package to black farmers and farmers of color because they felt it was reverse discrimination and it was unconstitutional. Well, if the federal government turns around and gives them money, then yes, National Black Farmers Association, please get together and file the biggest lawsuit that you can against the federal government. I've tagged John Boyd, who is the founder of the National Black Farmers Association, in this video. You all please go follow him, learn more about the National Black Farmers Association and how you can help them fight for economic justice for our black farmers. Thanks, y'all.
Mexico and China are the two biggest rice buyers for the United. They buy more rice off of us than anyone. And when they stop buying rice, we have nowhere to go with the rice. It won't be a trickle-down effect. It will be like flushing a toilet if the ag industry collapses. Totally 100% dependent upon the Lord Jesus Christ. I surrender it to him.
No, you simple If you were leaving it in the Lord's hands, you wouldn't be asking for a handout. Literally voted to not feed the hungry. Jesus doesn't with you. But before we go any further, I must address the MAGA idiot in the room. Katrina, yes, I do believe that food grows on trees. Say the illustrious apple, for one. I am very concerned. Katrina, the brilliant horticulturist, made this comment because I said, does money grow on trees? In response to the Nebraska farmers who are begging for a check. The American taxpayers bailed them out the last time that freak was in office, and we don't want to do it again. They should have planned better. They should find those bootstraps and pull them real hard. And how are the Americans going to eat? These are cash crops we're talking about. Corn, soybeans will be fine. This is food that is exported out of the United States. They said they wanted U.S. aid gone, right? Where the f*** do their excess crops go? To feed the hungry via U.S. aid. They made themselves redundant. They are so stupid. This is what being a hateful f*** does. They need to learn a lesson. They can't get bailed out every time they f*** up. Maybe farming just isn't for you. If you can't survive without government assistance, like the welfare queens that you are, perhaps this is the wrong line of work for you.
Farmers are making a cry for help before it's too late. Countless farmers gathered to speak to representatives of Arkansas leaders to share the urgency that something needs to be done about the current state of farming. Jake Tester was at the meeting and now joins us in the studio with more. Jake.
Many farmers spoke up at the meeting, and the message was straightforward. They need help, and they need it now.
I'm going to help you save your farm. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. But first, we have to talk about this. You see, I was raised in White County, right beside you guys. I know Woodruff County. I know it really, really well. But I was educated in public schools in White County, and I'm super proud of that too. But let me tell you, if I had gotten myself into the pickle that you guys have gotten yourselves into, my grandparents would have sat me down at the kitchen table and wanted to know, how on earth did we get here? And then we would have to have devised a plan to make sure that we never get into this predicament again. And so before I tell you how to fix this problem and what your chances are of making it through, let's have that conversation, okay? So months ago, the Trump administration announced some of the biggest immigration enforcement raids in American history. And California farmers were screaming from the rooftops that 60 to 70% of the nation's fruit and vegetables are grown here, and those crops are going to rot in the fields with no one to pick them. And you said, let them rot. Over the past 2 decades, we've been warned by scientists that the climate crisis would create bigger and stronger natural disasters than we had ever seen before.
This is a great question for all the videos I see of the farmers out in Arkansas crying and begging that the government isn't bailing them out and the government isn't giving them funding that they need to keep their farm afloat. What are you, a socialist? A communist? Why do you want the government to bail you out? That's not our responsibility. I didn't take out a loan on a farm. That's yours. Pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, right? This is a great question. Why are farm loans forgiven under bankruptcy law when student loans are not? Good question.
In the short term, they have no choice but to mail us a check. No, I don't know a farmer that likes the check program. Nobody wants to take taxpayer dollars, and nobody wants to go broke. Nobody wants to lose everything. Long term, we have to have options, markets, and places to sell our product.
I've been thinking about all of these farmers in Arkansas who are finding out that their votes matter. Your prayers don't. Jesus has got to be so confused because a few months ago, they were praying to protect Donald Trump and to make sure that he was elected president. And now they are praying to Jesus that Donald Trump changes his mind and gives them a bailout. Like Donald Trump showed up in the middle of your fucking farms and told you exactly what he was going to do. I'm going to deport everybody in this country. And that didn't make your alarms go off to think, wait a second, I have a bunch of illegal immigrants who are working my farms. This would not be good business for me. Maybe I should vote for somebody else. No, I'll vote for Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump sat there and said, I'm going to cut foreign aid to any foreign country. And you guys thought he was only talking about Ukraine because you guys are a bunch of fucking assholes. No, he was talking about everybody. He cut the whole department. That was your number one customer. And then your number two customer is China that he decided to put tariffs on. So now China told us all to fuck off and they're buying their soybeans elsewhere. I'll be darned. You guys just got what you asked for. Fuck. The only way you can undo this is to join our chorus once and for all, us liberals, who told you all along that this was going to fuck everything up for everybody. You guys are just the first few to start finding out. We're all going to get screwed here. So anyway, the solution here is for you guys to speak the fuck up and go tell your elected representatives that if they don't grow a backbone quick and start standing up to Donald Trump and undoing this, you're not going to reelect them. And then it doesn't matter who's gerrymandering, because if enough people get by the Trump administration, then you guys are going to have to start voting for the alternative to your Republicans. That means you got to start voting for Democrats. And there's so many people in this country who would rather vote against themselves than vote for a fucking Democrat. Introducing farmers in Arkansas. You guys just voted against yourselves. No liberal tears for you guys. Fuck around and you find out. Join the chorus and stand up to this bullshit and let's bring it to an end. In the meantime, your prayers aren't going to work, but your votes just did. Learn that lesson first.
So are we all laughing at these farmers from Arkansas that had the nerve to vote for Donald Trump, yet here they are asking for a government bailout because their farms aren't making any money? No, they're in the around and find out phase, and I really don't give a shit.
Quick question for the farmers in Arkansas who are begging for government handouts. Weren't you the crowd that wanted to take away benefits from hungry school kids? Weren't you guys cheering on the end of USAID? Were you guys happy about WIC going away? Because you didn't think that people should be receiving government handouts. You were all like, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. But now you feel entitled to government handouts? So socialism for me and not for thee? Do you even know how hypocritical that sounds? There's a saying, My grandmother taught me, and it definitely applies to farmers in Arkansas. You reap what you sow, and what you sowed was hate. And now you are losing everything. I'm not happy about that. My step-grandparents were farmers. I grew up visiting a dairy farm every week. I know farmers work hard, but I also know farmers tend to be very stuck in old-fashioned thinking. And it's time for you to wake up. That's what we mean when we say woke. Wake up and see how your hate is actually negatively impacting not just the lives of other innocent people, but you. Do I think the government is going to actually come through and give farmers a handout? Probably. But should you take it when you've already denied those kinds of help to innocent school kids, starving kids overseas? I don't think so.
I need to know where my Arkansas farmers are. Come to the front. If you think for one second that me in California wants to pay for your dumbass decisions to vote for this fuck regime back in who bankrupted you guys the last term, you got another thing coming. And I think you're very confused about this administration because it's not the same as Trump 1.0. And they're out to buy your farm on pennies on the dollar, not help you. There will be no funds for you, regardless of voting for Trump. And I hope when you're picking food off of the farm you once owned for an hourly rate that barely pays for your fucking house, you remember that we told you to vote for Kamala and Democrats, but you hate socialism, which is ironically exactly what you're asking for now. Have the day you voted for.
Hey, Arkansas farmers, Arkansas, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You all voted to allow all of this to happen. You all raised against China. You all raised against the rest of the world. But you want China to buy your soya beans and your whatever the hell you produce. Yeah, the people that you despise, you want them to buy shit from you, right? That's not how the world works. And since you hate socialism, no money for you. Because socialism means taxpayers' money is shared. But you don't want that. So I suggest, Miss Arkansas farmer, that you pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's what you wanted everybody else to do. And if you think the countries that you despise want to buy your produce and your hogs and your chicken and your soya beans, they're not buying American products because of your hate-filled MAGA agenda.
So they're asking this one lady, and she was like, when I first started, it cost $20,000 to buy equipment. Now it's over $100,000. Another guy said that, now to sell the soybeans in the open market now, it's actually more expensive when you add the tariffs on top of it. Whoa, say tariffs? Did someone say tariffs? No, we're not ready for that. But when you add the tariffs on top of that, they're actually more expensive than soybeans from Brazil and China. Hold up, but didn't somebody tell y'all that was going to happen? But didn't Donnie tell y'all that he was going to do that? And y'all still listen to him? In fact, didn't he do that to y'all in the first term? He put tariffs on your stuff and damn near bankrupted all y'all? And y'all still went down his path? Boy, y'all hard-headed. Y'all real hard-headed. Y'all don't listen good. Y'all hard-headed. And now you're asking for help. Now, one guy said, look, the only way we can rectify this, if the government writes us a check. Whoa! Say what? Are you asking for a handout? Are you asking for welfare? Ain't that... I believe that's... They might call that socialism? You want my tax dollars to help you on something you caused? Nah, man. PLB hot take.
Arkansas farmers, this is for you. if you don't want to lose your daddies and your granddaddies and your daddy's farms, then you better pressure your legislators to impeach Trump, because they're going to let your farms foreclose, and then Trump and JD Vance and their greedy corporate private equity buddies are going to swoop up your long-standing family farms for pennies on the fucking dollar and sell them to the highest bidder, probably in a foreign country. Way to go, America. We can do this. We can do better. You can do better. But it takes Republicans to pressure the Republicans to save us. That's you too.
Of course, as a farmer, I have thoughts, but I want to hear from other farmers on here. What do you need to make your farm more profitable, sustainable, or easier to run right now? Sound off in the comments. If you criticize a farmer for a vote or say FAFO, I will delete your comment.
I'm sure you've heard that Arkansas farmers are about to go bankrupt because of the tariffs. But this is what they voted for. Like, not only did they fail an open book test, we gave them the answers. They don't like politicians and they wanted small government. So they hired a reality star who ran, 4 casinos into the ground. That's like hiring Guy Fieri to run an airport. Actually, that's a bad comparison because Guy Fieri was actually a good businessman. Trump ran casinos into the ground. And I don't know if you know much about casinos, but they're not typically a business that doesn't make money. It's literally where people go to throw their money away. But no, they were always saying, Trump's a businessman, he'll fix the economy. Yeah, and Jeffrey Dahmer was a chef, but you don't invite him to dinner. They wanted a straight shooter. Congrats, you got one. And he shot you straight in the face and then blamed it on China. You'd hear them say, we need to go back to the way America used to be. Yeah, you did. Now your farm's gonna be auctioned off like it's 1932. I mean, you brought back full Depression-era cosplay. But I mean, hey, one woman's emails were too fishy and the other one's laugh was weird, right?
I feel like this is the perfect time for me to talk about this as I wear a John Deere t-shirt. I am engaged to a 6th generation farmer who is a liberal, who has never voted for a Republican. And I personally do not feel bad for the Arkansas farmers. Who I do feel bad about is farmers in general, because there is this mindset that all farmers are conservative Republicans, and that is simply not the case. I grew up, my grandfather was a farmer, so I know about farming. I always have. But watching my fiance love farming with all of his being, it genuinely breaks my heart, because I know that there are people who pay attention, like my fiance's parents, who do not support Donald Trump because he does not do anything to support farmers, actually. It's really sad because he wants his buddies to buy your family farm for pennies on the dollar. He wants these big corporations, these private equity firms that JD Vance is involved with, to buy your family farm from out from under you for pennies on the dollar. That's what he wants. That's what it was. It was very obvious, but y'all just didn't listen. And I feel bad for us. I do not feel bad for you, because we are now the collective and you fucked us over.
I found out a couple days ago that JD Vance invested early in something called acre traders. And guess who benefits when that company who takes over distressed farming properties? Guess who benefits when that happens? JD Vance. So when you think about big, beautiful bills that you were for, when you think about who you voted for, and you think, I was voting for my own self-interest, the thing that you're like, where's my empathy? We need the handout. I agree that you should have support. 1000%. I actually agree for subsidies. I think you provide an incredibly valuable commodity and necessity for the country. I absolutely do. But the thing is, you voted against your own self-interest. You said that your socialism is the only socialism that matters because you prioritized yourself over the welfare and the well-being of everybody else. You said, I want to be misogynistic, patriarchal, and racist. And you said, I want the world to look like me, and I want to be supported by the system. Well, guess who's in this system? A bunch of people who don't look like you. And what you've done is you have been part of the dismantling of the system that actually supported you. So until you're willing to say, I made that kind of mistake, I don't think you're going to see a lot of empathy. Now, even then, there are some people where you have harmed them so much that I don't know that you'll get empathy from them, but you'll get it from me. And my grandfather was a farmer for 40 years. And I have extreme empathy. I have extreme appreciation for who you are and what you do. But I also know for myself, as I've been deconstructing and learning and unprogramming, one of the biggest moments for me was to be willing to take ownership of the places that I had been racist unintentionally, that I had, that my conservatism was not only problematic, but harmful to a lot of people. That was a hard pill to swallow, because my intention had been justice and goodness and equitability. That has been my intention. But because I also chose the belief over what was actually happening, or what I was willing to allow in my sphere to influence me, I didn't know. I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't allow myself. I sheltered myself from it. So I don't know how you're going to say, I don't know if you'll save it. I don't know that you'll save your farm. I feel for you, because it feels like, and actually we have to turn the country in a different direction. Democratic socialism would afford you the opportunity to be valued and honored and have the subsidies that you need to run your farm. I don't know if you'll lose it before then, though. Should you be able to maintain it before that happens, voting and supporting and outwardly speaking out against who's causing you harm will go a long way in helping repair the damage with the people who are part of the population who would fund you. Just something to think about.
These are the pull them up by your bootstrap people. And before you feel sorry for them, they voted for bone spurs by 78% in the 2024 election. This was up almost 50% from the 2020 and 2016 election. They almost lost their farms after 2016 when he was elected the first time, and they had to bail out the farmers because they then asked for handouts as well. Then they vote again for bone spurs in 2024. They vote for the same guy in 2024 that made them almost lose their farms between 2017 and 2021. Same guy. They vote for that same guy who created a soybean and corn crisis because of his tariffs on China. Same guy. They voted for him in exponentially higher numbers in 2024. And now they're asking for handouts again because of tariffs. And these are the pull them up by your bootstrap people when it comes to poor urban neighborhoods. These are the go back to your own country people, even though they employ those same exact people for way less than minimum wage. These are the people who are just fine with taking away the rights and subsidies away from other communities as long as you don't touch them. And the reason why I think that 78% number is so diabolical is because of what Joe Biden did when he was in office. Joe Biden invested $3 billion into 135 five-year projects that would financially incentivize farmers to implement climate-smart projects and practices. Within the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed under Joe Biden, $19.5 billion was invested to support conservation practices with farmers. 28,622 contracts were awarded to farmers under that act, and those contracts were terminated by the Bone Spurs administration. The Inflation Reduction Act also supported the Empowering Rural America program, which was the largest investment in the rural electric system since Roosevelt in 1936, investing $9.7 billion across 24 states for this program. And people ask where the money was spent. $3 billion to make 9,901 improvements to renewable energy systems to make them more efficient for farmers and less costly, bringing down their overhead costs so they can keep more money in their pocket. $29.2 billion into research and innovation for farmers and agriculture in general. $300 million to help farmers to transition into organic production. $85 million for farmers to enhance their processing capacity, as well as promote domestic organic products. $262.5 million to higher education for people in the agriculture field. $2 billion to farmers who felt like they were discriminated against when they tried to get loans from the USDA. $1.4 billion to help smaller facilities expand. $336 million in grants for meat and poultry expansions. $420 million to enhance local and regional supply chains. $1.3 billion in local food purchasing agreements. $800 million for state governments to purchase unprocessed food from local farmers to feed to the children at school. Biden's Emergency Food Assistance Program purchased $2.5 billion worth of locally grown food for food banks. By the way, all of this has been cut. And I'm not done. $100 million in grants to 42 states to expand their emergency food assistance programs in underserved areas. $4 million per year to the Farm to Food Bank program, which helped not only to get more unprocessed food to people who need it, but it also helped create business for local farms. Like I just said, all of these programs have been done away with. So not only are the farmers now feeling it because of these tariffs, the same tariffs that crippled them during Bone Spurs' first term and his first trade war, they're also not getting the subsidies and benefits of the programs that Biden had put in place for them during his term. And 78% of the Arkansas farmers looked at all of those things that I just listed that they got from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was going to continue doing. They looked at Bone Spurs with his 34 felony counts and his 4 indictments. And they looked at the black woman who would keep Biden's policies going, the same policies that were pulling them up, the same policies that were slowly but surely pulling them out of the red. And they said, I'll go with the felon. How did you not expect to get robbed?
Man, all I'm seeing is farmers in Arkansas, Nebraska. Why y'all crying? Shut up. This is what you voted for. This is what you asked for. He did it to you last time, and you didn't think he was going to do it to you this time. So now y'all want some help. Now y'all want them government subsidies. Now y'all want that government money. The same thing that you voted for not to happen, for people not to get government help. Now you got your hands stuck out. Don't work like that. You made this bed. All that racism, all that hate, the same people you wanted to go are the same people that work those farms. See, you let your racism get the best of you. Now, all I see is Arkansas farmers. Oh, I'm about to lose my farm. The government ain't doing this. The government... You voted for this shit. Now you just got to eat it. But meanwhile, you see my black farmers over there. My black farmers that ain't been getting that government help, that been doing it on their own. They fine. They chilling. They thriving. So you might need to call some of them black people to get you some help. Oh, but you ain't going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're going to call Trump and them. But you know what? They're not going to answer. They're not going to help you, bro. So, just like they tell us, them bootstraps you've been talking about, I'm think you're going to have to grab yours and get to work. We out.
I'm so glad you asked that question. Not out loud. Not out loud. If you go on here, you'll see the videos for Arkansas farmers. One guy literally, as they're asking for government handouts, which one of my favorite comments on that video was, if I can't get my student loans forgiven, why should I have to bail out your farm? Which, I'm involved in farm. I work in farming, and also, but that guy, the farmer, the Arkansas farmer, he said, specifically, the tariffs are making our goods that we're growing and selling more expensive, too expensive now. So these other countries are getting their soybeans and their corn and stuff from Brazil, from elsewhere, because of the tariffs. Did he say Trump's tariffs? No, he did not. And I live in Washington State. It is Democrat run, 100%. But I, working in farming, had the opportunity to go to my local farm bureau meeting where it was like a local election thing. But I was asked to present some information about my farm and that I work at. I don't own it. But they had a couple of Republican representatives, because Republicans, farmers, they're giving kind of an update on the things. Now, Washington State is unique in that we don't have an income tax. We are sales tax or property taxes. That's how we make our money. Rightfully so, there is a lot of frustration, as expressed by these Republican state representatives, that farmers are having to pay more taxes to pay for things in the state, because we don't have a state income tax. And they always blame the Democrats. Democrats are not without blame. They have control, right? But they never say tax the rich. They just blame Democrats for raising the taxes on the farmers. Well, the taxes have to come from somewhere, right? And I absolutely think Democrats should be taxing people more, but Republicans themselves could say, we need to help out these small farmers. Why aren't we taxing Boeing, Expedia, Amazon, Starbucks? We have big companies here in Washington State. We are tech or farming here in Washington State. And never once in that Farm Bureau's meeting that I was at was it, we need to find other places. We need to raise corporate taxes. We need to have a billionaire tax, of which there are many here, or some here, many millionaires here in the Puget Sound area. But they just blame the Democrats. And so it will never lie with Trump, because in Arkansas, they voted for him. 62% of farmers voted for him, and they will now lose their farms. A lot of them will lose their farms, which is not a problem for the tech bros and the corporations, because Jeff Bezos's land acquisition arm, or whoever, they'll just come in up and buy that farm, and those farmers can work there fixing the tractors or whatever, because this is what, and I don't actually wish FAFO on farmers. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And the hypocrisy of taking as many government subsidies as farmers do, while also shitting on individuals who accept SNAP and other subsidies like that, and safety nets, is not lost on me as a progressive liberal person who also works in farming. I really wish they would blame the right people, but that's just the story of America.
Who cares? Charlie Kirk literally said that some gun deaths would be necessary, but that's an acceptable cost. It's an acceptable price to pay to have the Second Amendment in the United States. He just wasn't thinking that he would be the one to have to pay that price. So he was more than willing to pay for the Second Amendment with the lives of other people so that he could have guns in the United States. And it's the same with the Arkansas farmers. They are more than willing to cut every service, every program, every bit of help that the government offers to United States citizens, as long as it doesn't affect them. Screw everybody else. Fuck. We don't care. Cut every department. Cut every service. No Medicaid, no SNAP, no WIC, nothing. Fuck them. As long as the farms keep getting subsidized. Charlie Kirk said, who cares? Gun deaths, not my problem. It's acceptable. It's rational. It's prudent. Okay, well, here we are with a gun death. So I guess it's acceptable. I guess it's rational. I guess it's prudent. They like to but they cannot fucking take it. That's the definition of lack of empathy. They can never imagine themselves in those shoes, falling on hard times. Announcing that American exceptionalism was a thing and trying to exalt this idea of rugged individualism has been the downfall of this fucking country. Because we never consider ourselves part of anything bigger. We always think we're on our own. The government's not going to help us. They're not supposed to. Meanwhile, what is the point of government? It literally is to serve the people. That's the whole purpose of it. Never mind that. So we think, oh, we'll just do everything by ourselves. Never assuming that something bad might happen to us at some point. The flood waters might rise and take out our house. Our father might be a victim of gun violence. He loves to talk about how the absence of black fathers is the problem in black neighborhoods. Well, now his kids are going to grow up without a father. Whose fault is that? Like, you have to be able to put yourself out there in possible other scenarios before you start announcing what should happen to other people. But they're incapable of this. This is why it's hard to feel bad for them, because they're getting what they announced. They're perfectly happy with other people receiving. So they should be happy with it too, no?
So what do Charlie Kirk, the Arkansas farmers, and Fever in the Heartland have in common? So I'm currently reading/listening Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. And it's talking about the reincarnation of the KKK during Prohibition. And the word that I would use is chaotic. chaotic, as well as very, it's peculiar to me so Arkansas farmers are like, we're like, oh, we're 6, 7 generation farms. And I wonder about what community means to people in middle America. Because looking at, okay, the history of the KKK and the chaos of it, the fact that it really reincarnated as a Ponzi scheme, as a money grab, and this fear. So if we talk about the psychology of like white America, the fear of being the odd man out. Like, you could know it's wrong, but the idea of being the only one thinking the way you're thinking, or the fear of asking questions, of investigating further. Y'all paid that man $10 a pop for them dudes. Learn all that information for this man and the cronies that revealed themselves over time to really do y'all over. And then it's to read the book and then be able to see the same nonsense with the Arkansas farmers. Everybody told y'all, we've been here before. You're voting against your own interest. You having multi-generational properties does not matter to these people. They're in their own invisible race with one another. All they care about is more. Not having, not providing, not legacy. More. There's no rhyme or reason for it. And despite the fact that I'm saying everyone, I say everyone, Black people, and some of our white peers, right, told y'all, and you chose to ignore it. What do you want us to say? I'm talking about chaos. If y'all listen to or read Fever in the Heartland, and you find out how that shit was able to research the way it is, and how they have been able to take something so stupid and make it part of history. I feel nothing. As far as Charlie Kirk, same thing. He spewed whatever possible vitriol. And it could be heartfelt. It could have been heartfelt. He could have really and truly felt the way he felt. But guess what? He got them words handed back to him. He got his ass handed back to him. Now he on some other side. Can't call it the heavenly side, but he on some other side, right? It's chaotic. It's chaotic. The things that he was saying, it's interesting to see like all of these common themes of people just not ever being required to think for themselves, and they're actually being a fear of being different, or not even just different, a fear of actually actioning on your sense, on whatever sense you have. Because a lot of y'all have been going back ever since this man has been made president. They're like, this isn't what I voted for. I didn't think he would do that to us. But you were told that. You were told that. I wish people would realize, Black folks here, we are professionals. We are professionals. We know the patterns. We know what things look like. We know the patterns in history that people choose to ignore. And we bring it to your attention and you still choose to ignore it. And then you say, well, when he said that, I thought, no, he said what he said. When your mama and your papa got sick, got up out of here when he had that paperwork on his desk where he knew that there was a health crisis. Even now, you got to read between the lines, do extra research, and know who, and have an ear hustle to find out what's going on out them doors. But y'all don't want to listen. So, to your legacy, oh well, because you like the chaos. Y'all like that. Just remember that.
Arkansas farmers, I don't understand. Do you want the tariffs or don't you? Because don't vote for them, Arkansas farmers. Don't fucking vote for them, fuckheads. God, I'm trying not to be mad recently. I'm really trying. I'm writing, I'm sitting down, I'm doing it, I'm being calm, but every now and then you gotta step out in the garage because you see horse shit, dumbass rednecks talking about, the tariffs are hurting me, the tariffs are hurting me. 63 friggin' % of you voted for this moron. In Arkansas, the state, if we looked at white male farmers in Arkansas, I guarantee it's 90%. Golly, I'm surrounded by you idiots. I live in Arkansas. I'm surrounded by you morons. I see your stupid ass trucks. I see your big lifted things with the Trump. Fuck your feelings. I had a neighbor over here. First day I moved in. You know what they've moved now. I'll talk shit on them now. I hope you see it, dumbasses. When they moved in, I saw their damn flag in their garage. It said Trump 2020, fuck your feelings. Hung up in their garage. They come over, talk, oh, hey, we're neighbors, whatever. I already knew who in the hell they were. They were the ones who brought up politics, too. I wasn't even going to do it. I said, well, I tell you what, I couldn't vote for Donald Trump. Giggling, trying to, pass off. Why not? I couldn't vote for somebody that stupid, definitely much stupider than me. And I 100% couldn't do it after I understood he was big buddies with Epstein. Now, besides me disagreeing with every policy he's ever had, I find him personally reprehensible. They didn't really have a response to that. So I know you, dumbasses around here. I know you. I've met you. You don't have a brain in your skull because you hate Mexican people. That's what you do. You hate Mexican people. Farmers. I worked on a farm all through middle and high school. I worked with a lot of Mexican people. Great folks. You're saying it's, illegals. Folks who don't have their documentation figured out yet. Okay, so that's what we're worried about. Okay. Where do they work? Where do they work? Primarily. Don't vote against your own interests. And then whenever you win, and it starts happening, you start bitching and moaning. It's the children of Israel. Every time, we want rules, we want rules, we want a king, we want a king, we want rules, we want a king, we want a king. You know what God said? Here's your king. Okay. Y'all prayed for this. You prayed for Trump. You prayed. You wanted him. You prayed. I saw it in your church houses. I went to a church in 2024. And that man stood behind that pulpit and said, you better vote Republican. I stood up and walked out of that damn place. Well, I didn't stand up and walk out. I'm going to be honest. I logged into their live stream. He said that shit. But I'll tell you what, my parents walked out of there. Because as soon as, but now guess what? You can preach that stuff. They've passed it where you can preach it behind the pulpit. Now, this year, after this administration, you can preach behind the pulpit, not get your tax status taken away. You don't care about the separation of church and state. You don't care about America. You care about Donald Trump. You're the children of Israel. You cried and cried and cried for a king. You got one.
Farmers in Arkansas are in a crisis. Let's talk about it. Now, disclaimer, I am not a farmer. I don't really come from farmers, but I am a scientist. I'm an environmental scientist, so I can shed a little bit of light on this situation. So from an environmental perspective, we know that the climate is changing, and it has been for some time. And specifically due to man-made causes like CO2 emissions. So as a result of a warming climate, we have much more extreme issues with the weather. So we will have either, and it can be on either end of the spectrum. So either really hot weather, really cold weather in the winter. We can also have extreme drought, but on the other hand, we can have extreme flooding, extreme rain, etc. We can have storms. We also here in Arkansas tend to be affected by any hurricanes that come in and hit Mississippi or Louisiana. So there's a lot of things at play here in Arkansas. And the environmental issue alone is something that we need to prioritize and tackle. However, the current governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is anti-science, anti-climate change, anti-common sense, honestly. And one thing about farmers, if you ever get to know any of them, they are extremely in tune to the climate and the weather. They won't deny climate change. They won't deny that things are changing right before our eyes because they're out there every day in the hot weather, in the cool weather. They know that it has been changing.
If there exists a truer, pure religion than farming, I have not found it. No man feels closer to God than the one who has buried a seed in black soil and waited, prayed, and bled for it to rise. The American farmer is a priest of this sacred order, his hands baptized in earth, his sweat a sacrament. But even the holiest of men cannot outpray the devil, and in America, the devil wears a suit and carries a shareholder report. For generations, the family farm was a cornerstone of this nation, the great testament to our independence, our stubborn will to carve something from nothing. A family could scratch out an existence from the dirt, build a legacy in rows of corn and wheat, rice and cotton, hand down a plot of land like an heirloom Bible, tattered and holy, and for a time, that was enough. But then the wolves came. Washington, in all its unholy wisdom, rigged the game. Subsidies funneled to the biggest players. Trade agreements signed without the farmer in mind. The cost of seed, of equipment, of water, of life itself, twisted into an economic noose, tightening year after year. And just when a man's back had broken from the burden, just when a family had no choice but to sell, in swooped the corporate investors, the hedge funds, the multinational conglomerates, silent reapers of the American heartland. And it was never an accident. You see, the United States government, supposedly the great ally of the working man, has spent the better part of a century engineering the extinction of the independent farmer. The rise of agribusiness was not a natural evolution, but a hostile takeover. Monoculture farming, price manipulation, overproduction quotas, the gutting of co-ops, and the death spiral of rural towns. These were not just market shifts, they were policy decisions. And if you want to know what happens when you let unchecked capitalism run wild on an industry, look no further than a foreclosed farmhouse in Arkansas. A family worked that land for 100 years and held on through the Great Depression, Reaganomics, and 1,000 market crashes. But in the end, they were no match for boardroom vultures who could outspend them, outlobby them, and drown them in a flood of red tape. The farm crisis of the 1980s should have been a great reckoning. Instead, it was the first death rattle. Politicians made a great show of concern, tearful hearings, grand speeches about the heartland, but the consolidation of farmland into corporate hands continued unabated. And now in 2025, the family farm is little more than a romanticized relic. And make no mistake, farming is no easy calling. It breaks a man down to the bone. It is 4 a.m. wake-ups, torn hands, and sunburns that peel into scars. It's praying for rain and cursing when there's too much of it. It is knowing that one bad season, one piece of faulty equipment, one twist of fate can wipe out everything. But it is also a sacred thing, a communion with something larger than oneself. And no executive in a Manhattan office will ever understand the way a farmer watches the horizon at dusk, knowing he has done something honest with the day. And no market analyst can feel the quiet pride of walking the rows of a wheat field, knowing it's his field, his land, his work that feeds the mouths of strangers. And there is no dignity in corporate farming, only profit, margins, and efficiency models, monocrops and soulless machines. And now the men who have spent their lives breaking their backs to put food on the table are told they must bow before agribusiness, take their buyout, and accept their obsolescence. But to hell with that, because there are a few breeds as stubborn, as tough-willed, and as unshakable as the American farmer. They do not quit. They do not go quietly onto a boardroom ledger. You can push them, bleed them, steal from them, but you will not make them go down without a fight. You see, a man who's lost everything is a dangerous man, and out there tonight across the Midwest, the South, across the valleys of California and the plains of Texas, there are thousands watching their way of life vanish, realizing maybe just a little too late that they are being erased, that their sweat, their land, their families' legacies are being repackaged as corporate assets, that they have been conned. But if history has taught us anything, it's that you do not push people to the brink without consequence. You see, the land remembers and the land waits. And there will come a day when a farmer stops at sundown, wipes his brow, and realizes he has nothing left to lose. And when that day comes, the men in the suits will tremble. Defiance till death.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.